If you could talk to someone with 100 years of camping experience, what would you ask? This is the RV Live Podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt, and we are here today at the Jacksonville Mega RV Show. And today, we are going to do just that. We're going to have two guests today that have over 100 years of camping experience. Wow, that is absolutely incredible.
Now, Dan and I have been RVing full-time for the last 2 years. My experience with RVing or camping has been only the last 2 years. So I am really happy to have these guests on our show that are going to give us some real information, experience, and stories. Welcome, David and Gregg, to the RV Life Podcast.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, we are at the Jacksonville Mega Show right now. And, before we get to our guest, what we're going to do is what we do each and every show, and that is today's fun fact.
How many American households go camping each year?
Well, that was a really, really good fun fact, and I had a lot of fun studying that last night and doing all the research. Studies indicate right now that 74 million American families go camping each year, and that number has gone up by millions over the last few years.
Wow, that is a staggering figure. And again, I never went camping till 2 years ago. 74 billion families. That's amazing. I'm loving the whole idea of taking kids out on the road. What an experience.
We also looked at the reasons that people go camping. So let's just talk about the first 5 reasons that people go camping each and every year.
You mean like your significant other kind of pushing you into it?
Well, that is one of them. And that's about 35% of the people say their significant other made them go with them.
That'd be me.
A lot of people say for the love of the outdoors, they think it'll be fun. And the favorite of all of them is they want to spend more quality time with their families.
And we see it all the time when we go into a campground, families getting together, enjoying the outdoors, being there, being present. I love it.
This is the RV Live Podcast, and we are live at the Jacksonville Mega Show, where today it's raining. But I'll tell you what, that really hasn't stopped people from coming out. There's a lot of people here at the Jacksonville Mega Show, and they're looking at all the vendors on the inside area, and they're going out and looking at all the different campers and RVs that they can get to. Now, we will be back in just a second with our guest, but first, it's time for our commercials. This podcast is brought to you in part by RVinsurance.com. Getting proper insurance coverage for RVers can be difficult, as the RV lifestyle tends to take us away from our stated coverage area. The RVer Insurance Exchange can help RVers navigate tricky waters of health insurance and find a policy that travels with you, so you can enjoy RVing without worrying that your policy won't cover you. The agents at RVerinsurance.com are real RVers that understand the unique needs of those enjoying the RV life. Visit RVerinsurance.com or call 1-800-867-4330 and let the experts at RVer Insurance work for you. National Indoor RV Centers with over 1,000 motorhomes available across multiple locations. National Indoor RV Centers continues to provide an outstanding, hassle-free motorhome ownership experience. National Indoor is the #1 Newmar dealer in the nation and also features brands like Integra, Winnebago, and much more. Visit NIRVC.com and become a part of the National Indoor RV Centers family. This is the RV Life Podcast. We're live at the Jacksonville MegaShow. And our guest today, in 1966, his dad took him camping for the very first time. Folks, that's 56 years ago. He has continued camping ever since. His love of camping is so much that his family sat down and had a family meeting, and they formed Campers Inn. They now have 35 stores nationwide. Our other guest, Gregg, has been camping since he was just a little boy, over 50 years ago. He has worked in the industry for 40 years, and he's now the president of the Florida RV Trade Association for Region 6. You know, combined, that's over 100 years experience. You put 40 years of my experience out there. That's a lot of camping.
So we are here now with Dave Hirsch and Gregg Stachacz. And I'd like to welcome both of you to the RV Life Podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be here.
So now I want to start. For me, camping meant my brother and sister and I getting our blankets and putting them on the floor in the living room. That was our idea of camping. But for you guys, you've told some stories that just made me all warm inside. So I'm going to start with Dave. Can you give us a story that you remember from your childhood?
It's amazing. Packing up the car, the first was a tent. And we set up the tent down at a place called Bourne, Massachusetts, on a river. And we went fishing. And I remember going fishing. I didn't catch anything. My father did well, but he was teaching us. And, of course, this was a whole learning experience. And he cut the fish, filleted it, and I was like, oh, I think I'll have peanut butter and jelly. But it was a great experience.
Okay, Gregg, how about you?
Well, my camping started when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. Mom and Dad, they decided to take us tent camping. So Dad went over to the old Sears store and bought a Sears Hillary tent, and away we go camping. And we weren't far from home, about an hour and a half from home. That night, this is a great memory. That night, we cooked out and had a fun time. Me, my brother, my mom, and dad went to bed. About 3 o'clock in the morning, a storm came through. They named a movie after what happened in that tent. It's called A River Runs Through It. I'll never forget it. The next morning, we couldn't find my dad. Where did he go? I mean, he left. We cleaned up. We were doing everything. About 2 hours later, he shows up in a brand new Viking pop-up. He said, we're not sleeping on the floor anymore. And that's how we started camping, in a Viking pop-up.
Awesome story. Now, Dan, back probably 50. I'm aging everybody here. We're not going to talk about my age, but what's your memory, your first memory?
My very first memory of camping, I grew up in California. So my grandparents and my parents and my brother and myself, they took us to Yosemite. Back in the 60s in Yosemite, they had this thing called the fire falls, where they would actually push burning embers over the side of this great big granite mountain, and it looked like a fire waterfall. And that memory has just stuck in me. And, you know, Patti, when you and I were there last week, I'm like, that's where the firefall was. That's where it was. And obviously we don't do those kind of things these days. But that, to me, it's one of my greatest memories camping.
And this is what we want to talk about. So a lot has changed in the last 40, 50, 60 years. And today, that's exactly what we want to talk about, is some of the changes, talking to, you know, individuals, people, families about getting out and camping. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what's changed as far as camping from the tent to what we have today. So, Gregg, let's start with you.
Well, that's a natural progression. Tent, pop-up, travel trailer, fifth wheel, small Class C, and on and on and on, up we go. The biggest change that I've seen is the technology that goes into these units now. You know, gone are the days of rolling down a window, or gone are the days of opening up windows. Now you press a few buttons and you got windows going up and down and you got awnings coming out. And so the technology has changed. So every year there's more of the latest and greatest technology that you almost want to buy the next one because of the technology that they put in it. So I would say the technology is something that really has advanced this camping season.
How about you, David? How would you kind of answer that?
I agree. The technology is just amazing. When you think that just in the refrigerators, originally it was an ice box, then it became a absorption refrigerator. We operated a gas electric that had problems, had to be level all the time, and then they went to RV refrigerators, and now they're moving to 100% 12-volt big refrigerators. So the technology keeps improving, keeps making it easier to go. And now with the solar panels and with the lithium batteries, people can boondock and go wherever they want in the country, which is just great.
Okay, Dan, so I'm going to have you answer that question for us.
I honestly think that, and we actually, I went over to a booth across the way and I stole one of the electric bikes just to put it in front of the table while we're doing this. I think that for me, the electric bike or the invention of the electric bike, I used to have maybe a mile and a half around my campground that I could explore. And now we go in places and we have electric bikes that go on the dirt and the grass and the beach and everything. I now have a 5 or 10 mile radius that I can explore. So it has opened up the world for me. So I think that of all the inventions, of all the technology, of all the cool stuff, I really believe that electric bike has changed the way or the amount of area that we can cover. You have a comment on that?
I do. It's RVs are a function of what you want to do that you love. So you could do biking and sightseeing, or you could do golfing, or you could do fishing. It just actually makes your lifestyle so much better.
Absolutely. Now, for me, I love the technology that both of you are speaking of. I love our electric bikes. And I love the fact that we have solar panels and I have my cappuccino machine, because that was an absolute must. I know I might not be in the majority, but that was a big one for me. Now, we've talked about a couple of things here. We've talked about RVing, RVers, and we've talked about campers. There is great debate about this. So I want you each to chime in on what the difference is, the way you guys see it. So, Dave, let's start with you.
Oh, my goodness. So being fortunate, I've used everything. However, I have a wife, and she's told me my next camper is not what I want. She wants a small camper that she can drive, and that means we'll be probably looking at a B+. I like the diesel pusher, but, she wins.
Got to make the wife happy, right?
That's right.
That's what it's all about. How about you, Greg?
Well, we do own a diesel pusher, and I think this is my third one now at 45 feet long. You get used to the area on the inside. I call it, for the lack of words, plenty of argument room. You're going to be in there and you're going to say something and maybe the wife doesn't like it or you don't like it, and you need argument room. So I've got plenty of argument room. I also have a lovely wife who carries more than we need. And thank God the 45-footer has enough storage underneath. And in the I get this little closet about 3 inches by 5, and she owns the rest of it, And then when they invented the bath and a half, oh, my God, that back bathroom, I swear she's got an alarm on it. I put my arm in there and get out of my bathroom, So I'm relegated to the front bath. But I enjoy it. I wouldn't live anywhere else or anything like that. I understand the B+ theory. I like it, but there just wouldn't be enough storage for me.
I don't think there'd be enough storage for us as well, because as much as I love my wife, I found a closet that I didn't even know was there, and I opened it up and I started pulling stuff out. I counted 35 pairs of shoes. 35. We're camping here. Okay. So let's move on to cooking, and this is something that has changed over the years. When I was a kid, we went to a campfire. We got a bunch of rocks. We made a circle, put some stuff in there, and we cooked hot dogs on a stick. Now, today, we have microwaves and convection ovens and all kinds of things. Talk to us a little bit about how you have seen cooking change over the years for the good or maybe for the bad.
Well, what's interesting is that, guys like to grill, and that's outdoors. And so the outdoor grill has been just tremendous. People love to have it. And the truth is, my wife does not want me near the kitchen counter or the refrigerator. So I go outside, she's inside.
I love that. How about you, Gregg?
I think what I miss the most, and the technology has almost taken it away from it, is doing the old style campfire stew where you're hanging the pot from the teepee and you're cooking it and watching it cook all day. Nowadays, we take something out, a minute later, we got it and we take it out and we eat it. I would love to get back to the style. That's why sometimes I like visiting older style campgrounds, not the RV resorts, the ones where you do have the fire ring, where you can build a fire, where you can cook the burgers. One of the things I realized way when I was young is a truck rim. There is a truck rim that sits there, and you put charcoal in it, and the big Weber grate sits right into the rim of the truck wheel. And therefore, you're cooking right there. When you're done, you take it off, you start your campfire, and you make your s'mores.
Yeah, I do miss those times. And as both of you know, we have the RV Life podcast, but we also have a YouTube channel. And believe it or not, the number one video that we have on our YouTube channel is a comparison of the Instapot and the Ninja Foodie. It's the comparison of those tunes for that quick cooking. Everybody seems to want to know what that's all about. You are listening to the RV Life podcast. We are live at the Jacksonville MegaShow. We're having a great time here. I look out and I see hundreds and hundreds of guests. They're having a great time as well. We will be back with more information about camping and your questions right after this.
When traveling in your RV, how do you navigate? Do you use a paper map, a GPS, or do you use Google Maps? Our sponsor, RV Trip Wizard, has the solution, and it just works.
It just works. And I got to tell you, I do not move my RV 1 inch without first plotting it out in RV Trip Wizard. It is a great program, less than $50 a year.
It is, we have been using it. Dan bought it before we even started RVing. He started planning out our trips. It has been great. The one thing we probably love the best is that we can make changes to the plan on the trip because we change our trip plans all the time. So yes, it just works. You can get 25% off for listening to the RV Life podcast.
And there's that discount code in the show notes right below.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to get back to our guest, and we're going to get back to talking about camping and the things that we remember of camping. I hate to say this, but I don't see people making s'mores and toasting marshmallows anymore. What happened to the tradition of toasting marshmallows by the open fire?
I have no idea why people don't do that, but they still do sit around the campfire and do chat. And it is a great social environment. Everybody's the same. They have the same, thought process of getting out, relaxing, and enjoying the outdoor life.
Here we are in 2023. I hope everybody's sitting around the campfire listening to episodes of the RV Life podcast.
Absolutely. And you know what? I still love my s'more, so I'm not letting that go. Most of the campgrounds we go to do have the fire rings. So now, Gregg, what do you think about that?
It's a waistline thing.
Really?
Yeah. I agree. There has to be times where you have to just relax and cut loose a little bit. You get older, you live underneath a diet, blah, blah, blah. But listen, when you get out to that campground, you don't realize how many steps you're making during the day. You don't realize how many calories you're burning. But just get out there and enjoy yourself. It's when you're at a campground, you're safe. Your kids are safe. You're safe. Everybody is enjoying it. And if I could just take 1 minute about us. I had never met this man I pulled up next to him at the campground in Tampa.
Yep.
I couldn't get a signal. I could not get a signal to save my soul. He steps out. He goes like, oh, here's the information. Just get off my Starlink and away you go. That's what camping is all about. people just enjoying each other and having fun and sharing times together.
Yes, I would agree. Community is the thing that is the greatest part of it. In my mind, I worried, and people say all the time, well, how do you make friends on the road, meeting people? But community, it is all about community. So let's talk about making reservations. It's a big thing on people's minds. Some people go out and wing it. Some people make reservations. What's that look like now? How has that changed? Gregg, I'm going to start with you. Do you make reservations when you're going camping?
There are times. There are times I don't. But what I usually do is kind of like tell the wife, well, you know, I feel like maybe 6 or 7 hours today and I'm going to be done. So then she gets the wizardry map out and takes a look at where we're going and what's going to be available up there. And of course, you got your cell phones now, so you can call ahead and make your reservation and you have a destination. There are times where we have no destination. There are times where I'll drive for 2 hours and call it quits, and then sometimes 8 or 9 hours and call it quits. Some of the interesting things that we've ran into is never making a reservation. I mean, we've pulled up on sandy beaches, we've pulled up in parking lots, we've pulled up anywhere you can think and had a good night's sleep and had a lot of fun doing it.
How about for you, Dave? How do you answer that?
Well, it's real similar. It depends if I'm going on a long trip. I may make a reservation, but I will stop in truck stops or parking lots or rest areas and spend the night. It's great to be self-contained. You have everything at your fingertips. When I have a destination, then I'll make the reservation ahead to make sure that I'm at the campground that I want to stay at it for a while.
I think for Dan and I, we're somewhere in between. So we've made reservations up to 6 months in advance, and then they change because somebody invites us to the Jacksonville MegaShow. Thank you, Gregg. So we just changed the plans. We have done the parking lot, where we stayed in a parking lot. I guess it's different for different people. What do you want to add to that, Dan?
I really don't want to add to that. What I want to do, though, I want to move on and talk about something a little bit special. So we have two different kinds of dealerships represented at the table here. Well, we're talking about camping in general. Let's talk a little bit, about what Campers Inn is and the why behind Campers Inn. What is the driving force for your organization?
Well, we like to think of ourselves as a large dealership with call it a small family thought process that each store operates to take care of the customer, but being large, we could service at every store. And the person, if they're on the road, they can come in and we will give them the service that they deserve as if they bought from that store.
It's interesting because when you sat down, we asked how many stores you had, and you said, I don't really know. That's not what's important. And I just love that. It just goes to the character of who you are. So, yes, that I love that.
Okay, Gregg, now you represent General RV here. You also represent the Florida RV Trade Association, who is hosting us here. Both of those organizations are actually hosting the RV Life podcast. Now, you're a Class A guy, so you primarily sell Class A's. So tell me about the thought process of General RV.
Well, the thought process for us is to work hard and try to fit the customer into the unit that they want. There's probably 70% of the customers that come in nowadays, they'll stand at the counter and they'll go, I don't know if I want a fifth wheel. I don't know if I want a Class A. I don't know really what we want. We know we want to go camping. I have a pull along and we want to make the next step. We kind of focus on getting you in line and trying to find what's best for you. But we're not unique. Campers Inn does the same thing. All of us are in the same boat, trying to take care of a customer, trying to fit them in. The difference between us is simple. They handle some manufacturers that we don't. We handle some manufacturers that they don't. But the primary goal is the same, to take care of the customer, make sure they're happy. We all know one thing, whether it's Campers Inn or General RV, that person going down the road is the best advertisement you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things, and I just want to compliment both of you on this and maybe get your comments on it. We'll start with Gregg on this. Customers, when they come in, the number one thing they say to us all the time is they don't want to talk to salespeople. They don't want to be approached. They don't want to have the high pressure. And I got to tell you, that is not what I feel or see at the last few shows that we've been at. Gregg, can you talk about, General's philosophy on that? And then we're going to come back to you, David, on it as well.
Well, General's philosophy is just about the same throughout the industry, that you want to make a friend, you want to talk to them. But there's a significant difference when people come to our stores, whether it's Campers Inn or ours or whatever. We are not an automobile dealership. We are not 9 to 5, take your car, go home and whatever. We like to take our time. We like to just talk to the customer and get used to them. The hardest customer sometimes is your best customer, is the one that stands there and says, I don't want to see a salesman. I'm tired of it. We bought a car 2 weeks ago and we just got bombarded. Well, you're not going to do that here. Come on in and sit down. Come on, we're going to have a little discussion. Buying a car and buying an RV is totally different. We want to make sure you're happy.
David, yes. How would you answer that?
It's really similar. You have to realize that the campers go from brand new $15,000 up to $1 million, $1.5 million, and they vary quite a bit. So we don't want to waste the customer's time, and we basically look at it in two facts. You have a product that the customer is interested in, whether it be a travel trailer, tent trailer, fold down, whatever, motorhome, and then you have a budget. And because of that, we want to make sure that we're fitting the customer into the right product for the right price.
The variance of types of campers here. Now, I haven't seen a tent. I haven't seen a tent here, but I was in an Outdoor World a couple of weeks ago, and the guy was showing me a tent that you just throw it up in the air and it sets itself up. So quite different. So you go from a tent to these little teensy-weensy teardrops that I could barely even get in. I tried to crawl into one yesterday. It was very, very difficult, all the way up to a Class A where that little one would have fit in the bed of the other one. I really feel like we do here have something for everyone.
We do. And that's the thing, that anybody can go camping. The fact is that if you are the outdoors person, you're going to go mountain climbing, there's a product for you. If you're basically retired and you're going to fill your bucket list, we have it here at the show.
So I just want to move on. This is a question we get asked all the time. I see it on social media all the time. What is a favorite must-go-to place? Somebody's starting out on their camping adventure. What would be a favorite place? I'm going to ask both of you individually that you feel like people must do. So, Gregg, how would you answer that?
If there was no time span involved and not just doing a weekend, I would say my most favorite spot to sit and have a sandwich and a glass of wine is Duck Creek, Utah. When you go up from Nevada through the gorge and get into Cedar City, Utah, you climb the mountain and you go up 8,000 feet, and you're in a little town called Duck Creek, Utah. And you're sitting on the backside of Zion National Park. And there's a place called Strawberry Patch out there. And you go and you take your four-wheeler, you rent a four-wheeler, and you go out there to the end with a glass of wine and a couple of sandwiches. And you just admire the different colors of the rock and the way the sunset is. It actually, for a salesperson, takes your blood pressure down about 30 points. You're kind of relaxed. It's nice.
Okay, David, I'm going to put you to the same question. You can go anywhere you want in the entire United States. What is the number one spot that you think everybody must go to?
I love Bar Harbor, Maine. So you make your reservation, you go up to the campground, and you order your lobster dinner that they actually bring to your campsite. And you chow down on that huge lobster with clams. Of course, you have to have clam chowder. It's great.
You know what? We are going to Maine this summer, and my mouth is watering. So I can't wait. Dan, you got to make sure the lobster with the drawn butter is being delivered to the campsite. And I will eat it outside around the fire pit.
Yeah,
That
David,
sounds
absolutely.
amazing.
When we're done with the show, I'm going to have to get that spot because you made me get in trouble here.
Are we now glamping?
That would be glamping.
Now that's
That would be at a
glamping.
different
Yes.
level. For me, I again, when I look at the entire country, and we have been everywhere from Seattle to Miami, and we're going to hit the other side up in Maine and New England this summer. I really liked Bend, Oregon. There are some camping spots there where we were 10 feet from the river and it's coming down and the trees and oh my goodness, that place was just absolutely gorgeous. How about you, Patti? What you've been asking all the questions. What about you?
And you know what? People ask all the time, what's your favorite place? And it's kind of tough because I loved going up to Mount Charleston in Las Vegas. It's just really a beautiful, serene place. Sedona in Arizona, we actually stayed outside and went to a winery. Now, Dan and I really don't even drink, but this winery made me feel like I was in Italy. And that was a top moment. We had our electric bikes. We rode around this 125-acre property. I'm trying to think what it was called. Alcantara. That was I was just transformed. It was an amazing experience.
And David, almost as good as getting lobster delivered to your campsite, you can get a massage in the vineyard. Right.
That's not bad.
Yes.
Okay, so, there's a lot
What happened to the s'mores?
You have them for dessert.
There is a lot of brand new campers. And as I said in that early question of the show, we talked about over 1 million new campers are hitting the road for the very first time every year right now. What's a piece of advice, or where can they get information about learning about camping? So what are your thoughts? And we're going to start with David on that one.
There are a lot of magazines out there. There's a lot on the internet. The thing you really need to do is to sit down and have the table talk and say to yourself, what do I want to do? What things do I want to enjoy? And with that information, I think your next step is actually to go to an RV dealer and tell them what you want to do. We deal with thousands of customers every day. We do trade our people to talk to you and then show you the products that will fit your lifestyle, because there are so many lifestyles.
And sometimes, like for me, you don't quite know what exactly you want. So it's really great to speak with somebody that can help guide you. Now, Gregg, how would you answer that?
Come to a Florida RV Trade Association show. We'll be glad to handle and take care of all your needs and wants. There's plenty of dealers here. The experienced salespeople are here. They can walk in and out of campers all day, find maybe the one they want. I agree with David. There's a lot of magazines. There's a lot on the internet. But to touch them and to feel them and to be in them and sit in them and be comfortable in them is where that experience starts. Come to a show, any show across Florida. We're all glad to help you out.
And Gregg, I think that is amazing information. Now, Dan and I have a Class A. We're ready to upgrade. And the things you see now that even after us RVing for 2 years that I didn't think about. I want a televator. I want heated floors. Story for another time. But there is so much that, like you said, you could see and do at an RV show, people to talk to. It's about like getting that information. That's what we wanted to do, this talk with you guys today, so people could start to dream and imagine things that they might not have thought of. And certainly an RV show is a great place to do that.
And, there is a lot, a wealth of information out there on the internet with forums and groups that you can learn anything. You can almost get any question that you possibly have answered. And not to mention, you could come to the RV Life podcast and listen to that, because you'll get a lot of those questions answers as well. And we also have our YouTube channel, which is Exploring Through Our Lens. Now, if you want to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us through our social media.
Right. So you could go to Instagram, and it's either Exploring Through Our Lens or the RV Life podcast, and the same on Facebook. If you have questions, comments, if you want to private message us, I answer every question, every comment that's made. So please reach out.
Now, our show format is we have a question of the week in the third segment here. So I'd like to ask you guys to hang around for just a few minutes and let's get to that question of the week and see if we can't get all of this experience that we have inside of us. You're listening to the RV Life Podcast. We are live at the RV Mega Show here in Tampa, Florida. We'll be back right after we're not in Tampa, are we? He said, wait a minute.
Wait.
We were in Tampa last week. This week we are in Jacksonville, Florida at the RV Mega Show, and we will be back right after this.
Why end your camping season when it gets cold? With the inflatable RV skirting system from Air Skirts, you could extend your camping season year-round. Reach out to Jim and his team by visiting airskirts.com for more information. RV Life Podcast listeners get $100 off a kit order when you use code RVPOD. That is RVPOD for $100 off.
This RV Life podcast is sponsored in part by Clear 2O. Clear 2O continues to bring its expanding line of water filtration products to RVers with innovations such as their DirtGuard sediment pre-filter, their 1-micron solid carbon block inline water filter, and a wide variety of high-quality filters for your RV's whole house filter system. When it comes to clean water for your RV life, the answer is clear. Clear 2O. Visit clear20.com and use the coupon code RVLifePodcast to save an additional 5% on every purchase.
This is the RV Life Podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with some incredible guests today, as well as my incredible wife, Patti Hunt. We are at the Jacksonville Mega RV Show. We're having a great time being here. Patti, I got to tell you, even though it rained today, it was the crowd here is incredible. There's way more people than the last couple of days.
Is there's a lot of people here. We're in the vendor section and the vendors seem to be talking to a lot of people. It's a great show.
It really is a great show. Now, right now, it is time for one of my favorite segments, and that's when Pat Buchanan from RV Life comes in and gives us an RV Life Pro tip of the week.
RV Life makes it easy to share your exciting RV trip with friends and family via the RV Life Trip Wizard. To share a trip with another Trip Wizard user, first open your trip, click on the wrench icon, and choose Share Trip. Now click Share Trip with another Trip Wizard user and enter the email address that person uses for their own Trip Wizard account, and click Send. Your friend or family member will find your trip in their own Trip Wizard account under Tentative Trips, where they can view, copy, or even change the trip according to their own needs. If you simply want to share a view of your trip, even to those without an RV Life Pro account, simply choose Visitor View after clicking Share Trip and create a shareable link that allows others to see your RV journey just as you've planned it. I'm Pat Buchanan with your RV Life Pro Tip of the Week.
Thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate it. Every week you come in with some incredible information. Now, we're sitting at a table with over 100 years, well over 100 years of camping experience. But Patti, you were a city girl. You never even went camping as a kid.
No, I didn't. And, over the last 2 years of camping, RVing, call it what you want, I realized I probably missed out on a lot of things, not only myself, but with my own kids. And now I'm looking forward to bringing my kids out camping and our 9 grandkids, maybe not all at one time, but this is a lifestyle I never imagined. And people ask me all the time, so what do you think now? I am loving it. Absolutely loving this lifestyle.
Well, as you know, that horn means that it's time for our question of the week. Now, it's kind of strange because this whole show has been about questions of the week, but we do have one question that really, really hit us as we looked at all of our social media accounts. So, Gregg and David, this is going to be a question I'm going to ask all three of us to answer this one. Patti, why don't you give us that question of the week?
So this question is from Abdul in Colorado. And he asked, he said he's new to camping, and what are some of the must-haves?
Brand new to camping, what must you have? Because you can go to Outdoor World and spend $1 million. Go ahead, Greg, let's take that one first. He's thinking.
If you're going to start your camping career, you sometimes, depending on where you're going or what are you going to purchase and what you're going to buy, you want to look around the inside of your house and you want to say, I need this, but in smaller proportions and put that in there. You certainly want to make sure you have your medications with you. If you do take medications, you want to make sure you have proper clothing for your destination. Those are the kind of must-haves. After that, we're pretty much playing with it and going with it. And if we miss something, then we go to a local market and buy it.
Right. Okay. So, David, how would you answer that?
Well, I usually tell people that you have a lifestyle and a way that you're living right now. And you need to say to yourself, are you going to change your lifestyle? Most likely not. And what you're going to do is add to it. So take your lifestyle and just basically say, what is going to fit my lifestyle the best?
Okay. So, Dan, what's your answer?
You know, David, I got to say that is a really good answer. That's a really good answer. But I think I have the best answer in the entire world. The number one thing that everybody needs when they decide they're going to start going camping is an Amazon Prime account.
That is for sure. Yes. Now, I'm just going to add to this here. As a newer camper and our lifestyle, we were in a 3,500 square foot house, complete with pool and a hot tub. We had a very different lifestyle. But sometimes you have to go into camping, RVing, and what I say, just be with it for a little bit. I find sometimes people buy every item, gadget. They're on Amazon Prime nonstop, like Dan. And you know, sometimes you realize you need something different. So sometimes just be with it would be my suggestion.
You know, another thing that everybody needs, and we're going to give one to Greg and David here right now, is a coffee mug. And every single guest that ever appears on the RV Life podcast, we give them an RV Life podcast coffee mug. So thank you guys so much for being with us. We truly, truly appreciate your wealth of knowledge, but, you know, it's people like you that makes events like this happen. It's a lot of work at the trade association to get this thing going. It's a lot of work at a dealership to get ready to come to this. I mean, it's an engineering nightmare just to park the campers out there in the spots that you have. So we really appreciate everything that you do to make an event like this such a great event. And, you know, Patti, we were walking around yesterday and we saw Matt from Matt RV Review. Now, he was a guest on the RV Life podcast just a couple of weeks ago.
He was Matt's RV from Matt's RV Reviews. That's what it is. It's a tongue twister. Yes, you interviewed him. I was not there a couple weeks ago, and you could check that out on the podcast. More great information.
Now, Greg, Matt is actually working with General RV these days, right?
Yes, he is.
So, yeah, he's out there. It seems like everybody seems to know him. Well, we are out of time for this week's show, and it has just been wonderful. Maybe a little humid here in Jacksonville. But you know what? It has absolutely been a great time at the Jacksonville MegaShow.
It has. We're having a great time. We've met a lot of cool people, especially Gregg and David. We can't thank you enough for sharing your wealth of information with our listeners.
You're listening to the RV Life Podcast. We are live this week at the Jacksonville Mega RV Show. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt, saying have a great rest of today.
And an even better day tomorrow.